Hi, I'm Jim Gordon.
I'm Lita Leapin.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
Well, we find ourselves in the beautiful city of Maple Ridge. We're checking out this great restaurant called Chameleon.
Coming up, we're going to check out some great food, some great cocktails, some wine with an old friend of the show. We'll also head to Port Moody and then back downtown. That's coming up after you watch this. Well, we're now inside Chameleon behind the bar with a familiar face to our show. I think this guy who's been on our show, he's in that category of more than 4 times category, right, Lena?
Yeah, and he makes great cocktails, which is what we have in front of us.
Hey, we should say it's our restaurant experts. Richard Goodine is back joining us again. Good to have you back, pal.
Always a pleasure. I'm waiting for the blazer to be stitched and the logo for the 7-timer or 5-timer.
No, you're getting up there.
Now we'll just make some cocktails.
All right. Taylor.
Let's start with what Chameleon does. Obviously, great cocktails and wine, but you took the time to we'll make a couple of nice cocktails, very different cocktails for you and Lita.
Well, I mean, a great wine program, great cocktail program, and a great little spot here in Maple Ridge.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. But you know, it's a hot day. I know that if I'm going to stay in Lita's good books, I've got to make something she enjoys. So Aperol Spritz always does the trick. You've got a great bread and butter Chardonnay, which is nice and buttery.
And you and I think Chrisley McWaters were the ones that first said to me, you hate Chardonnay, but you haven't had a good one. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and this is what I want Chardonnay to be. And you know, but I'm not in the mood for wine. I want a good cocktail, and the cocktail program here is constantly evolving. This is really an exciting spin on an old-fashioned using Woodford Reserve, a little bit of peach bitters, and then the sugar has been infused with a little bit of peach as well. So, you know, sitting outside, you think you're in Tennessee, it's so hot today, it could certainly be the type of cocktail that would do the trick.
Yeah, and it's just a great patio, too, they have here. This really is a gem.
Yeah, it's a good spot to people watch, for sure.
Just sticking with your cocktail before we get to Lita's pail of a drink. Have you seen more of a comeback over the last 2 or 3 years? I think we were talking about this on your first appearance way back when, that people are ordering more old school drinks like an old fashioned.
Absolutely. You know, the cocktail culture has been exploding for 10 years in Vancouver, now here in Maple Ridge, but what people are doing is people who've been experimenting and trying new things are starting to realize a Sazerac, an old fashioned, or the classics are worth giving a try.
Yeah, especially when you have a supreme product like with your whiskeys or your bourbons or whatever, right? People are moving away from the standard that you've grown up with. I don't want to say any names, but that cocktail's made with a superior spirit.
Well, it's interesting because if you go into the liquor store today and you see the selection of bourbon and rye whiskey that's available, it is 5 times what it was 2 years ago. Wow. And the quality and the little gems that are coming are far superior to what we ever had available. So yeah, the spirit culture is growing up really well.
Even the local distillers are making some pretty amazing brands here.
Yeah, and you know what? And the thing is that there's some really good value to some of them. You don't have to drop $1,000 a bottle like you would on Louis XIII as an example. $90, you've got a really great bottle of spirit.
Nice. Okay, as you mentioned before we went on camera, you've known Lita a long time, like you've known me. If you know Lita, this is her drink. You take it over from here, please.
Yeah, no, you can't beat an Aperol Spritz in the summer. So perfect drink. Thank you, Richard.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. But you know what? It always surprises people when they don't realize, because everyone automatically assumes there's this orange, is that Aperol is a vegetable-based liqueur.
I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not only am I making sure that you're happy and you're satisfied, I'm looking out for your health at the same time.
And you're giving me a salad. Thanks,
that's right.
Richard.
That's my job.
Cheers.
I forgot Richard likes to stretch things sometimes when it comes to drink. Hey, before we wrap things up in this segment, let's just go back to your wine now. I've got a lovely glass of Chardonnay here, perfect for a summer day. Talk about the wines here, because there's a good cross-section of wines, and you've got something really exciting coming up in September you wanted to mention with one of our dear friends who's also in that 5 or more times appearances on the show.
Yeah, she's fantastic, Krista Lee. Well, wine program here is really based on the idea that from a by the glass perspective, lots of celebration of BC wines. We make great wines. It's not too far to the Okanagan. And then in order to give people an option, there's other wines from all over the world, from California, from Italy, and they'll be constantly changing. And what the decision was made that early September, there'd be a wine dinner. Krista Lee, who is part of Evolve and Time and McWaters collection, as you said, been on the show many times. She's a fantastic gal. and she's coming up to do a wine dinner, and the details I think are coming up soon, so we'll get a chance to have some people in and enjoy a really great dinner here in Maple Ridge. And
It's really
Very
cool.
nice. Yeah, it's good to have. She's such a lovely person. She knows how we feel about her. Speaking of food, we're going to come back later in the show and talk, what, appetizers and main courses? Because you've got some good stuff coming up.
absolutely great stuff, and I'll tell you, there's a real focus here on quality, on a small menu because of the focus on that quality, and making sure that the execution of it is flawless. So there's some exciting stuff. I know we've got some duck and scallops and a few key appetizers coming up soon.
Sounds great.
Okay, well, we're going to go finish these. We'll be back later in the show from Chameleon with some great looking food. And we're out here in Maple Ridge, so hi to all our viewers out here in the burbs. It's nice to be out here. We'll come back to Chameleon later in the show.
This health and beauty segment is brought to you by MD Cosmetic, with offices for you in Port Moody and Abbotsford.
Well, we're so pleased to welcome back Dr. Alibi, cosmetic physician, who we've had on the show well, it seems like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. There's been a ton of changes in your industry, and we're super excited to sit down with you and talk about that. We're going to get right into it. Can you bullet point what has happened in your industry over the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years?
The industry's grown, I'd say, leaps and bounds over the past 5 to 10 years. I think coming out of COVID, people are more conscious, they're more concerned about their appearance. They want to feel better about themselves. And by removing a line, a wrinkle, a blemish, a scar, it gives people more confidence, more self-esteem. And I think what we've seen through COVID is that people want to feel good about themselves. They want to be in public, they want to be with their friends, with their family, but they want to do so with confidence. And what we can do today in aesthetic medicine is give people that confidence and that self-esteem that they might be lacking.
Well, so many people are seeing themselves on Instagram and taking pictures and
Zoom.
The Zoom meetings. Oh my God, and they're horrified.
And Zoom magnifies all of our defects, unfortunately.
Totally.
But now we can get rid of those defects subtly and with beautiful results, without undergoing any downtime or risk. And that's what the aesthetic medical industry affords patients today.
Mm-hmm. And you were mentioning that men are a huge increase in your clientele.
Absolutely. So when I opened my first clinic in Abbotsford 20 years ago, I would see one man every 3 months. Today, I'll see 3 or 4 men a day. And that's because men are realizing that just by making some small, subtle changes, they're going to feel better. They're going to look healthier, they're going to look more refreshed, and they're going to be more confident.
And it helps them in business too, as they are really realizing now.
It does. And I think, we're working longer, we're living longer. And so if we can just feel a little bit better and younger and more youthful, it gives us more confidence in the workplace, socially, everywhere in life.
So what are your most popular procedures?
I'd say number one has been, and likely always will be, Botox, that you've heard of. It's a household name now. It gets rid of frown lines, forehead worry lines, crow's feet, and it gives people this sort of fresh look without anyone knowing. So that's a concern people always say, are people going to know that I get it? And the answer is no, but you'll know. And you'll look fresher and healthier, more approachable. And so I think Botox is number one. Dermal fillers, so fillers which give back volume that time has taken away, are extremely popular today. And we're doing incredible things with fillers now that are actually, preventing the need for surgery.
Yes, very important for people when they don't want downtime.
Exactly.
Tell us some of the new things you're doing with filler.
With filler. So I would say one of the most common areas we do filler in now is under the eye. A lot of people hate their tired eyes, the fact that they have bags or they have dark circles or they look tired. And so with one poke, we use what's called a cannula. So instead of using multiple injections, with one poke, we can give volume back under the eye, and it makes you look less tired. The other thing we do a lot of now is give back volume in the cheeks. And what we've learned over the years is that it's volume loss more than wrinkles that makes us look older as we age. When people lose a lot of weight, excessive weight, they look older.
Gaunt.
Yeah. So what we're doing now is giving back volume, particularly into the cheeks, and that gives this youthful appearance back. So cheek volume restoration, the tear trough filler. We're also putting filler in the nose. So we call that a non-surgical rhinoplasty. So instead of going to a plastic surgeon and getting, a nose job, we can use filler in the nose to make the nose straighter and appear more beautiful and more proportional.
Wonderful. Oh, so many fascinating, wonderful procedures.
Absolutely.
We're going to come back later on in the show and talk a little bit more detail about some of the most popular procedures that you're seeing with your clients.
Excellent.
At MD Cosmetic and Laser.
Well, we're certainly finding our way around the Lower Mainland in this episode of Our City Tonight. I'm Richmond right now. I'd like to remind you, as we always do, to check out the print version of Our City Tonight in the Richmond Sentinel. It's available online and, of course, in print. And speaking of Richmond, we'd also like to welcome a new sponsor to our show. It is the Hamilton High Street Senior Residence. If you're watching the show a year ago, and I think literally a year ago this week, we did a segment on this very popular residential care place. It was in the show. We had a good time here. More information, check out our end credits, and you will see more of these guys in our show as we go forward. Our newest sponsor, Hamilton High Street Senior Residence here in Richmond. Well, we are at Homer Street Cafe in downtown Vancouver. We've done a number of great food segments here over the years, but we're not here to talk food today. We're going to talk bourbon, and I'm with Adam Domet, not Dumais.
That's right.
He is a bartender with Poorhouse, another great spot in Gastown. He is also Angel Envy Whiskey's guardian. God, that's a great title.
I love it. I love it. It took me a little while to figure it out exactly what it meant, but once I did, I knew it the whole time.
Oh, I love it. Let's talk a bit about Angel's Envy. I'm a recent convert, tried it here. For our viewers that may be bourbon fans, what can they expect from this bourbon, which is rooted in 200 years of bourbon heritage? Am I right on that?
Bourbon is rooted in 200 years of history and heritage. Angel's Envy specifically is only about 12 to 13 years old right now as a brand. Angel's Envy is brand new to Canada and brand new to British Columbia for about 2.5 years now.
Okay. You know what's interesting too is that you come along slowly with this product. I mean, I saw it here, and then it started to grow by word of mouth. Talk a bit about how this successful campaign has gone with this product.
I'd love to. Thank you very much. We started in British Columbia in mid-2020 with a select on-premise accounts only. So Homer Street Cafe, Tableau, Poorhouse, The Diamond, the Laboratoire, etc. And from that, with great support from our friends and friends like you and Neil, we were able to grow it to a brand where now we're available readily at BC liquor stores and across Canada from Vancouver Island to Newfoundland.
Talk about the reaction you've had too. Obviously positive, but what are people saying about this brand? Because as I said to you off camera, I've been a Scotch drinker off and on for years, but bourbon was never something I really took the time to try, and I would probably not having great bourbon. But I had one sip of this, and you have me as a lifetime customer.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. It's definitely a welcoming flavor. It's soft and subtle, but still rich and complex. I've been working with bourbon as a bartender in Vancouver for the last almost 10 years. The next week is 10 years. And we've always been a great bourbon drinking city. And when Angel's Envy was able to come along, it just made all the sense in the world. It fit in like a house on fire.
Gotta try it. Thanks, Adam.
You're famous. Thank you very much.
Man.
I appreciate it.
Joined now by a good friend and bar manager here at Homer Street Cafe, Andrew McDonald, who I got to say, you turned me on to this. That and my creative consultant here on the show, Neil Jones. I'm really preferring it straight, but you're a master with the cocktails.
Yes.
What are you presenting it to people with if they mix it in a cocktail?
So the easiest way I'd say is to start with an old fashioned. Really lends nicely with maple. There's some aromatic bitters. Really brings the best out of the port finish of the Angel's Envy. Really delicious. One of the things we're known for here at Homer Street is an espresso martini. So it really lends nicely in espresso martini, gives it another level of richness, and that port finish really shines through.
Are you seeing a real increase in people ordering this and in cocktails or straight?
Yes, actually, the appetite for premium bourbon has definitely been growing in the last few years. It's a different product, but it lends itself really nicely in cocktails. It definitely has a lot more depth, a little more than your classic Jim Beam or other rail spirits.
Yeah, that's what I found. I was saying to Adam is that I wasn't really a bourbon drinker consistently, but I probably, without mentioning any brand names, probably wasn't having great bourbon. I was having the standard, like with Scotch or any others. So trying this, it was great. Are you excited to see the return of cocktails like the old-fashioned you said, where you can use Angel's Envy?
Yes, it's a great opportunity. Manhattan's old fashions, they've really had a resurgence in the last few years. So especially with the premium products that we're able to get in our market now, really lend themselves well to those classic cocktails where the whiskey really speaks for itself.
Andrew, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, we welcome back Dr. Alibi, 21 years as medical director at the MD Cosmetic and Laser Clinic. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the procedures and the most popular procedure, Botox. Now, I think a lot of people are familiar with Botox for frown lines and getting rid of those little wrinkles and that, but there's so much more to Botox. Let us hear
Absolutely.
what's new.
So obviously the most common areas, as you mentioned, frown lines, forehead lines, crow's feet. But we're using Botox in other areas now with incredible results. So for example, this muscle here is called the masseter. And a lot of people have pain there. So we'll inject that muscle to get rid of jaw pain, which leads to headaches. But a lot of people don't like the shape of their face, that it's a bit too squared or oval or rounded. So when you weaken that muscle, the muscle will thin and we get what's called facial slimming. So the shape of the face becomes more triangular and narrow. And that's a beautiful treatment that can, again, give people confidence and make them feel better about themselves.
And you do some amazing things together with Botox and filler for
Absolutely.
facial
So,
shaping.
for example, you might thin the muscle, and then we'll use filler to define the jawline and give back that jawline definition that you had when you were younger. We'll even use filler and Botox together in the chin. So Botox to soften the dimples, or the pores, or this little line here called the mental crease. So Botox can smooth the chin, and then we'll use filler to bring the chin out. If you've got a small chin, hypothetically, and you want to bring it out and make it bigger. So we'll use Botox, in the muscles here and in the chin, and then filler along the jawline and in the chin to give more definition and contour.
Wow. And there's some other lesser known Botox applications.
Yes. So a lot of people, when they smile, you see a lot of gum.
Yeah.
And that's what we call a gummy smile. So we can use Botox to drop the upper lip and eliminate the gummy smile. Wow. And that's a beautiful procedure. We can use Botox around the nose for bunny lines. We can use it around the mouth to weaken the muscle that's pulling the corners of the mouth down. So it kind of turns your mouth frown upside down and makes you happier.
It totally does, seeing a happier face in the mirror.
Absolutely.
Now you have some more therapeutic applications.
Yeah, which unfortunately are not that well known. So for example, headaches or chronic migraine. Botox works incredibly well to treat chronic migraine and tension type headaches. So we inject the muscles where the headaches originate. So it might be in the temples, it might be in the forehead, it might be in the back of the head, or sometimes even the neck. So we inject those muscles, Botox weakens those muscles, and it thereby prevents that tension which causes the headache or the chronic migraine.
Oh, fantastic. And you had mentioned sweating. Well, especially when we're in this heat wave
Yes.
right now in Vancouver.
So about 2% of the population suffers from excessive sweating. And it's usually in the armpits or the palms or the soles. Sometimes it's even in the face or the scalp. It's a tough condition to live with. The best treatment is Botox.
Wow.
And Botox prevents the sweat gland from producing sweat. So you won't sweat more elsewhere, but these are for patients that just sweat unnecessarily. It can be cold and they'll be sweating in the armpits, palms, or soles. And so Botox injected in those areas will reduce sweating by 80 to 100%.
Wow. Well, truly life-changing procedures here at MD Cosmetic and Laser Clinic. Thank you, Dr. Alibi. 21 years as medical director in Abbotsford as well as the Port Moody Clinic. Thank you for joining our city tonight again.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
This health and beauty segment was brought to you by MD Cosmetic, with offices for you in Port Moody and Abbotsford. Be sure to join Dr. Alibi in his next segment this fall when he talks about exciting treatments such as cool sculpting and Morpheus.
Well, we're back here at Chameleon in Maple Ridge. What a gorgeous restaurant, but now we have the food in front of us. These are some of the appetizers available here, Richard. They smell amazing. I can't wait to dig into that like my Aperol, but what do we have? Can you describe a little bit of?
Absolutely. Well, they do. They look fantastic, but the taste is there to back it up. So, you know, the way I look at pork belly is that if you love bacon and you decide you want to put a turbocharger on it, you end up with pork belly.
That's a good description.
And this is done with a nectarine jam. Beautiful looking dish, amazing flavors. We'll dive into it in a little bit. Charcuterie is always great, and the seasonality of this is really fun because they constantly playing with different cheeses, what they can find, and as local as possible is a key driver for that. And who doesn't like a good charcuterie? And tuna. Tuna tataki, nice albacore tuna, done with a little bit of their house-made rice crackers. Fresh, nice summery dish, perfect with a glass of bread and butter Chardonnay or a glass of Prosecco.
BC tuna too, I understand.
BC tuna, local. I mean, as much as possible, when they can here, they're trying to source the smallest farms, the best locations, and really have people understand that there's a great, you know, downtown restaurant located out here in Maple Ridge.
Yeah, you know, you've been around the restaurant game a long time. As I said, you've been on our show since 2015 when we first started. This has really become an increasing trend over the last decade about trying to get as much local, especially out here in Maple Ridge where you've got farm country around here where you can source this kind of stuff. You've been around, talk about that.
Well, the reality is to stop getting our cheeses from so far away or our meats from so far away that we don't even know who made them. Also, community is getting stronger than ever, and I think COVID's had a little bit of an impact on how much we're trying to band together. And when you talk about making a great menu, chefs get inspired by the idea of driving down the road, meeting a guy, whether it be Hopcott Farms or somewhere else, and saying, hey, you know what, that sheep, can I buy that in a couple months? Or that lamb, or whatever it might be. That lamb is probably a little more appealing than sheep, but you get my point. And farm to table started as an idea. Now it's a staple.
Yeah, and I think people do look for it now too. So when a restaurant like Chameleon mentions that, people are drawn to that. They want to support the community.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, people want to know where something came from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, certainly people are more conscious of where their food is coming from, and I'd rather eat something from here than, say, Europe, let's say. For example.
Well, and the one thing that's true, and I've really been impressed to see this over the years, is that people will pay more if they know that the quality and the care and the attention to detail has been there. Yeah. And that's certainly what it's all about here at Chameleon.
Well, and Chef has done just a gorgeous job plating these. They're phenomenal.
Well, you know, they often say that we eat with our eyes as well, and these are great looking dishes, so we'll have to get a fork and dive in as soon as we can.
Jim doesn't need a fork.
No, our fingers are all over this already. Okay, from appetizers, Richard, to 3 delicious-looking main courses. Let's start way over there where the food is way too far.
Good thing.
Well, there's a reason this one's all the way over here, so I can stop you. The beautiful beef, Two Rivers, all about local ingredients. This is really exciting, and I think it would be something that would go extremely well with a glass of red. But it does signify and it does underline the fact that what the chef does here is start with a real love of local ingredients and put together some amazing dishes with beautiful presentation.
And speaking of beautiful presentation, fish, halibut, BC staple.
How do you not do halibut in the summer in BC? I think it's one of the most beautiful fish, and I've said many times, and I'll say it again, halibut cheeks are one of my favorite dishes. This is a celebration of the dish. Let the fish do the talking, right? Fantastic with a nice glass of Prosecco.
Yeah, and simplistic. Chef is really, really good.
Yeah, a lot of talent here. You can see talent immediately when a plate comes out. It's in the creativity, but it's a lot to do with the presentation. And then it comes down to really about sourcing as well. And these are well-sourced products that celebrate the fact that you don't need to go looking a million miles away to find a good dish.
This last dish, which is really close to me grabbing.
He hasn't disturbed
haven't touched it yet, no. But tell us what we have here, Richard.
Well, that's a beautiful duck from out in Chilliwack. Used to be called Yarrow Duck. Now it's just called Fraser Valley Duck Company. Duck is a beautiful, beautiful protein. The thing about duck that most people don't understand is that you really need to know how to cook it properly. Right. That one looks perfect. It's pink. It's got all the juice in it that it needs. And for me, duck is really one of those foods that begs for a great wine pairing. Pinot Noir is what it really wants more than anything else. But if you've got the complexity of flavors like this has, a Syrah like we have would be perfect.
And mention that, yeah, we got local wine, BC wine. You and I both have a red. What are we serving here?
Well, this is a lot of people who know Sandhill will know that they're very famous for their small lots. They have a lot of little vineyards where they don't make a lot of wine, and this is one of them. This is their Syrah. It's a very terroir-driven company, and it comes through in this, and it would be standout with any of these. It would be maybe a little bit more powerful than the halibut might want, but that sauce has some real structure to it. So BC makes great wine, and that's why their focus here is to put a lot of BC wines by the glass.
Yeah, but you threw a little Prosecco in front of me there, Richard. You know me well.
Well, I know how to butter you up, but yeah, Prosecco. The best line I've ever heard about Prosecco was it was a symposium on Prosecco, and after everybody had done long speeches, one guy stood up and said, "Prosecco is not the wine; it is a lifestyle."
Ooh.
That's
She's
what the
a
reality
testimony
is.
to that. Yes.
Lita is not a lady; she's a lifestyle.
She's a
who happens to also be a lady, in case I get called out on that at the end. But
Hey,
anyway.
before we wrap things up here at Chameleon, we should mention again to our viewers about this great event you have here in September with our mutually wonderful friend and a big fan and big friend of this show, Crystalie McWaters, one of the great wine people of the Okanagan.
Well, you know, her family, her name are synonymous with great wines in the Okanagan. When you talk about Prosecco, the McWaters name is the reason there's such a big bubble market. Crystalie is coming in September. They're doing a lovely 4-course meal. The details are going to come in the banner. They can certainly go onto the website or call the restaurant directly. I can guarantee you that not only is she amazing, but with this food and the wines that they produce, it's going to be a standout evening.
Oh, we've been a fan of Time Winery since the beginning, I
Well,
think.
so she was
Yeah.
with us from the beginning of our show, so it's great to see her back. And she, like you, have been on the show long enough to almost get that blazer for most appearances. Let's wrap up here with Chameleon. Any last thoughts on this place? You mentioned before we came on camera, we were looking at the food about this is downtown, not to sound downtown centric, but you're getting this out here in the burbs, which is fantastic.
I don't live in Maple Ridge, but if I did, I would think to myself, I've got as good a restaurant as I can find anywhere in the Lower Mainland, right here in my neighborhood, so I'm coming here for that.
They've got everything. They've got a little event room. They've got a great patio. Everything you need here, too. This really does feel downtown.
Yeah, it's a great spot, great looking food, and even the celebrities are coming here.
Ooh.
When do they arrive?
2 o'clock this afternoon, I thought they were.
Certainly not us. Hey, it's good to have our old friend, restaurant expert Richard Goodine on our show. Thanks to Jenny here who came here early to help us get in, and thanks to Chef Ralph. Thanks to our cameraman Mark, and let's dig into this food. As we do, we'll say, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
And we'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight.
Don't forget to check out past episodes and individual interviews, all on the Our City Tonight YouTube channel. Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877. The Richmond Sentinel, providing news, entertainment, and human interest stories in print and online.